Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists that it is completely possible to have a great career in the arts. And if you ever want to tune in and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just check out the schedule over at facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. This week's episode features Austin, Texas-based artist Pratiksha of PMuirArt. Pratiksha has an interesting segue into the art world because her previous job required her to sell to the point of actually getting used to hearing the word no. And that's what sales is, right? Giving your pitch to whoever might need your product, and in our case, our art products, and letting them decide if it's a fit. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. So we talk about taking your emotions out of the sales process and realizing that the customer isn't saying no to you specifically, the person that you are. They just might not need what you're offering, or they might not see the value in it, and that's okay. I think so many of us wrap our identities into our work, which makes it kind of hard to hear any kind of feedback, and especially rejection. Dun dun dun, rejection. Which, and all of that can ultimately keep us from continuing to put ourselves out there and sell. And I just want to say that you have an amazing product that is perfect for a specific person. Maybe not everyone, but it's perfect for a very particular specific person. But if you don't kiss a bunch of frogs in order to get to that perfect person, then it might not happen. And I think Pratiksha gives so much good advice for getting out of your own head and into a business mindset, which can ultimately set you up to make many major sales now and down the road. So let me know what you think about this week's episode with Pratiksha. Well, if you could just kind of give a little bit of a short introduction of anybody who might not know you so we can get to know who you are.
Totally. So my name is Pratiksha, and I live in Austin. I have been doing art full-time since July now, so about 10 months. Before that, I was in sales for like 5 years, so it was a really drastic and big jump, but it's been really fun so far. I focus on pop art, so a lot of portrait work, and then also abstract art. And didn't think to take it seriously at first. Like, I don't have any education or formal background in art. I learned it as a hobby, so self-taught, and started to take it more seriously when people reach out to me.
So what was the tipping point that took you from being hobby to professional artist, you say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it was like a truly deep dissatisfaction with my job.
Okay.
I did sales for 5 years, and there was a lot of it that I really loved. I was with one company for 4 years, and it was really great. But I remember getting to a point where I was like, okay, I know what the next 1 to 3 years would look like here. So maybe I'll try a different sales gig and get reinvigorated. So I joined another sales company and we were building an office from 0 to 30 people. And we were able to do that. But at the end of it, I was like, when I should have been the happiest, I remember being like, oh, wow, like, this is kind of it. Like, it's a different job, yes, but it's kind of all the same shit. And if I want to make a change, then it should probably be now. And yeah, that's when I took the leap.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing though that you were in sales just because I think that gives you such a leg up in the art world. Like a lot of artists come in and they're so like antisocial and like not wanting to talk to people very much. And so I can just tell by like immediately meeting you, you're just like, "Hi, I'm here." Like, and I love it.
No, yeah, like there are definitely parts of it where I was like, oh, like thank God I have this experience, like getting used to rejection. That's something that I think most artists have to get used to and what I deal with all the time. But being in sales, you're normally rejected 98% of the time anyway. So yeah, I see a lot of that like creeping in a little bit, but yeah.
Could you talk just a little bit more about that? How like maybe you've got rejected in the past and how like you've basically gotten like a hard skin or a tough skin about it, and maybe how you've gotten rejected in the art world and it just doesn't bother you as much, or how you deal with it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so when I was in sales, I started off as a rep and it was phone sales. So you're calling a bunch of people, like you're making 100 dials a day and you're trying to get them to talk to you and you're trying to get them to give you a credit card. And it gets to the point where if you're uncomfortable, like that's okay. You could take your own like steps to ease into it. But at some point or another, like your manager is going to come up to you and be like, hey, like, if you don't start closing things, like you're not going to have your job. And that's where you kind of have to take your emotions out of it and be like, hey, this isn't like a personal feat. This is like, this is happening with your business or whatever sales you're doing. Like, this is what's happening. This is what we could provide. Why don't you at least hear what I have to say? You could decide whether or not something you want to do. And when I started looking at sales a little less personally and a little bit more professionally, that helped me out. So when I talk to a business out here or a client here, it's not like, oh, like this is a personal like goal that I have to get your money or to like get my art into your place. It's just like, hey, this is what I have to offer. If that matches what you guys are looking for right now, then that's awesome. And if not, then I could send you to another artist. Like I'll recommend you, Andrea, and just be like, she's incredible. And she does more like animal work. That's
Mural stuff.
realistic. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like, hey, like, why don't you reach out to her instead? So having an open mind of you, like not everything needs to mean so much and you don't need to like get everyone's business. Just do the best you can and be honest with what you have.
Yeah, that's so true. It's just taking the emotion out of it. And, you know, as females, I think we tend to be more emotional and
Yeah.
not to like generalize everyone, but we do. And, you know, anytime you get rejected, you kind of take it as like a personal hit. And just recently, in the past couple years, I've realized that like, or I've read it in a book or something, and it was like, you are not your art. Like you are not like your self-worth is not tied up into whatever you're painting, you know? And so I
Yeah.
think just knowing that and like if someone doesn't like that, that's not you. Like you
Mhm.
are not your art. Like you are your own person. You're nice and all these other things, but like with the paint and you are two separate things. And so if you can just like separate those in your mind and really deal with that as like a business exchange, it's just so much easier
Yeah.
to like recommend people or you know not do a painting or whatever.
Mhm. It's like healthier too, almost.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, like it would be a lot of stress to just like think of everything as a personal like, attack or like rejection. Just be like, oh, like I got denied, therefore my art isn't good enough. Like that would just be a lot to take in all the time. So positive
Yeah.
self-talk is definitely something that I think everyone
Yeah.
should practice.
Yeah, for sure. And like anytime anybody like gets rejected and they kind of feel bad about it, they'll come to me and be like, oh, I didn't get this job or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that customer is not meant for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have a customer, like, you don't want to be vanilla. Like, vanilla is okay, but like everybody likes vanilla, but you want to be like chocolate swirl with raspberry, like, and
Yeah,
because
hell
somebody,
yeah.
exactly, yeah, because somebody is, that's going to be like their jam that they order every single time and they don't touch vanilla. Like, you need to like
Totally.
appeal to those people. But you, I mean, if somebody likes strawberry only, like, you're not going to appeal to them, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like
Like
relating it
next,
like that.
like you'll be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be okay. There are millions of billions of people in the world, so it's
Mhm.
fine. It's just finding your customer. Okay, awesome. Well, I love having this discussion with someone who is so experienced with sales. So, my next question, what is your typical workday? How many hours do you spend painting?
Yeah, so this may be a frustrating answer, but like it always changes. It's like it's always going to be different. I make a to-do list, and depending on what I'm doing at the time, if I'm making a bunch of commission pieces or if I'm working for uh like if I'm looking to try to close a client who wants a few murals like in their spot, I'll be designing a lot. Or I don't know, if I'm working on my own personal series, like I'm just going to be painting away. So when I do get into painting, I paint for at least 5 hours at a time.
Yeah.
But there are like, I mean, when I was painting the Serpent series, so the girl behind me, when I was painting them, I was painting like every single day, almost all day for a month. And then there are also weeks where I'm painting maybe a few hours here and there. And it's like something that, I don't know, it's always changing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think
What
it's so
about you?
interesting. Oh yeah. So I'm kind of the same, Well, recently, like basically in 2020, I've set up a system to where I do office work Monday and Tuesday, and I really weirdly enjoy the office work, which is like making proposals and like sketches, and then like doing stuff to my website, and then
Mhm.
I'll leave Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's usually Saturday to paint, and then
Yeah.
Sunday is kind of a try to rest day. So that's like my like thing. But yeah, I don't like to paint longer than 7 hours in a day. I
Yeah.
just think the quality gets less and it's just forced, and I don't want to, because basically I painted for Bass Pro Shops for a long time, and we did a minimum of 10 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, and I'm like, I just don't want to do that anymore. It was nuts. But it was good training, like it was really good
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think it's so interesting to hear all these different artists, and like every time I ask someone, nobody has a straight answer too. So it's not frustrating at all. It's just how it is.
Yeah. And it's like when you become an artist too, it's not all just painting either, right? Like you start to realize how complex so many things are, whether it's social media, whether it's marketing, whether it's client relationships, whether it's trying to get new business, whether it's trying to like design, or whether it's trying to gain more skills. You start to realize like, oh my God, like this all takes so much time. So the cool part about being a full-time artist is you get to decide when you want to do those things. Like if you want to try to do a little bit of it every single day, or if you want to like bulk your days together, be like, these are the days I paint, these are the days I do admin work.
Yeah, for sure. I love the whole freedom aspect of it. I couldn't go back to a normal job of somebody telling me when I could
Same.
take lunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I made the decision. I was like, there's no going back. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I remember there was like a slow period when I transitioned from like working for Bass Pro to like getting clients on my own a lot. And I was just like, I'm not going to do any other job. I'm going to figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah,
Love
this is the
that.
best job in the world.
Mhm.
So, could you talk us through your painting process? Are there any methods or techniques you picked up?
So I would say that Photoshop was a big game changer for me, and it really helped me start to learn like different proportion sizes, or like different color palettes that I enjoy, different techniques that I could bring to my paintings without needing to use all my products or all my time or all my like resources and canvases trying to actually paint it first. So designing it and then being able to bring it to a canvas for me was a really big, like, it was pretty monumental being able to like make pieces like the one behind me. Because if I try to just go off of a whim, then like I could have something pictured in my mind, but I don't exactly know how to bring it to the canvas, or it'll just take me so much longer to get there.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I would say like that would be the biggest thing that I I learned like the biggest thing that was important for me to be able to use my time more effectively. And it ended up working out to like get me more jobs as well, which I didn't realize would be the case at first. Like I did a mural for a bar restaurant on 6th Street in Austin. And then they reached out to me a few weeks later and they were like, hey, like, you know, we have a few more projects, like wondering if you'd be able to help us out with them. And all of them were graphic design.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure it just,
Is that better?
it
Yeah.
like, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was like kind of messed up, but we'll just kind of keep going with it. Just internet. So yeah, I bet like the first thing I was thinking too is like when I use my iPad and I can literally just like tap twice and it's like undo, you know? And so like there's so much time that just gets saved, whether it's if you're painting it and you want to undo it, you're like, oh, I gotta paint over it, wait for it to dry, like try it again, do a layer. And yeah, but with Photoshop or any kind of computer program, it's like it's almost just stupid spoiled of just like what we can do. And so I never really thought about that. That would have come in handy in my recent one. I painted a whale in the clouds and I just could not figure it out. I was just kind of like going back and forth with the colors and because using like a bunch of different reference photos because there's no like reference photo of whales and clouds really, and so I'm like, man, I would have saved a lot of time doing that on a Photoshop first. So that's a really good tip.
And I am like a big believer that there is no substitution for being able to see artwork like in the flesh, right? Like a painting is just a painting. Like no digital design or artwork is going to compare. But at the same time, like when you're learning something out, and especially if you want to take the jump and doing this full time, you can make digital designs and sell them on Etsy and get an income, right? Like while you start to figure out or like get a clientele base of people who actually want your paintings.
Yeah, very true. What is the one thing you don't like to paint without?
So a binge-worthy show.
Okay, like a Netflix show?
Yeah, so I can't tell you how many times I've watched Friends. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Sex and the City. My boyfriend jokes all the time, like, I wish I knew anything as much as you know Sex and the City trivia. Like,
I love Sex and the City.
I made the mistake of starting to get into Vanderpump Rules. Have you ever seen it?
No, but I know what it is. Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, you know what? This is reality TV. I'll be able to paint to this. I spent a week trying to paint and watching Vanderpump, and I like couldn't do it. I could tell you everything that happened in the show, and my paintings went nowhere. So it has to be a show that like you don't have to actually watch. So I just love a binge-worthy show in the background, like a feel-good show. And material-wise, I actually use a lot of Q-tips.
Oh, what?
Yeah, they're like my go-to for fixing mistakes. Like little lines that I don't like places. I love you. I always have Q-tips on me. Like I always just take it, I'll wet it real quick, and I'll just wipe it away. And that's just my thing.
Oh man, I never actually thought about doing that. That'd be way better than a brush, you know, because you could just like, and you could throw it away. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, most people use them for the unintended purpose of putting them in their ears anyway. They're not even meant for that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know what happened, but I think I was like painting something that had like little crevices and stuff. I was like, oh, like this is difficult. I kept messing it up when I was first like trying to paint it, and so I grabbed a Q-tip and then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, you like I found.
And I was just like a security blanket. Like I just need them with me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love that when I interview artists too, like there's like things like this that I've never heard before, but it's like, that makes so much sense.
You're like, that's weird, but cool.
But it works. Like whatever works. It's so funny because there's no rule book for artists to do, you know, a set thing. There's no like exact brush we have to use. Everybody has their own preferences. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So are there any art lessons you've learned the hard way?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of learning like art lessons all the time. I feel like I'm constantly getting like punched left and right of like, oh, like don't do things this way, or make sure you're doing this, or make sure you're doing that. But it really comes down to like balancing of time. Because I'll find myself being like, okay, cool. Like I need to I need to organize the posts that I want to put on Instagram and Facebook, or like listings that I want to put on my website. And I'll block out a half hour or 45 minutes. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, oh no, like I need to change this on my website. I need to do this. Like these captions are taking longer than expected. And I think like going back to taking control of my morning was really big. Like waking up in the morning, I'll have like my big teacup, and like I'll like while I'm drinking my tea, eating my breakfast, I'll actually write down things that I did the day before that I was really proud of. And then I'll write down projects that I need to complete, and then things that I could do today to help me get closer to achieving them. And that's really helped, because even if I can't get to everything on my list, which I never get through everything on my list, I will knock down like the main priorities on that first. And that way it's not like all in complete disarray, but I have like tangible things that I know are getting me closer to my goals.
Yes, I love that. And because I was just on a call with a student, and she mentioned, she's like, there are just so many things to do that, like, I mean, Facebook, website, pay this, do that. And like, and she's like, I just need some organization. And so I'm like, okay, we'll work on that. And that's perfect. That's a perfect example of how, you know, you can spend hours on a website. Like I have students too, they're like, well, I kind of have my website up, but like, I'm not happy with my bio and this and that. I'm like, just get it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be up. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, for sure. I would recommend Squarespace too.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's like everybody asks, and okay, that's a good, because I use Shopify and like another program, and I'm like, they're okay. And so I've always been, oh, what do you like about Squarespace? This is coming at actual perfect time, actually, from this other stuff that we're doing.
And like, this is not a plug either, but like, they just keep everything so easy. Their whole like shtick is just keeping things really simplified. I tried doing WordPress, and it was so intense, and things kept breaking, and I kept having to communicate with them. It would take days to resolve, and it was just a complete mess. And at one point, like I asked them for a refund. I was like, I don't even have a website up. It's been like 2 months. Like this isn't getting fixed. Like, can I please just get a refund and try something else? And they were like, yeah, like, I'm sorry, like here. And I saw a bunch of people on YouTube like recommending Squarespace. So I tried it, and I had my website up like within that day.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
Squarespace. There it is. This is coming in at a perfect time. You have no idea. I'm about ready to do like a website thing for all introductory students on what they should use. And I did a bunch of research on them, and Squarespace was at the top. So this is it.
It's just like, it's super easy. They have awesome templates, and like, yeah, you'll be able to set it up.
Perfect. Thank you so much for those tips. Do you have a favorite past project?
Yeah, I would say it was the Serpent series. So Viper behind me was the first painting I did on a large canvas. And I remember it was a pretty monumental moment for me, that I was like, holy shit, like I started taking myself a little bit more seriously. I was posting art, and I was kind of like, oh, like, well, we'll see like how this goes. I'm just trying to learn all these things at once. There's so many people who are so much better than me. Like, I don't know how I'll compare, but when I started the Serpent series, it was something I did for myself, and it didn't really matter like if I sold them or what happened to them or like what people thought. It was like, I started painting it, and I was like, I connect with this a lot. Like, I really love this, and it inspired me to do like more and more and more. And I would say like that was my favorite and most important past project.
Oh, I love that. And I love your style of portraits too. That would be the style that I would do, the one right behind you. It's just like colorful and black and white too. Like it's just, I love it. Yeah. How many did you do in this series?
So the series was 9.
Oh, wow. And like 9, like decent sized canvas. How long did it take you to do them?
Yeah, so all the girls in the Serpent series are all 3x4 feet, and it depended. I mean, all of them would take like at least 3 to 4 days to complete. Some of them have taken like much longer, like weeks to complete. It just depended on detail. And
Yeah.
also, like, while I was painting them, I was also trying to do other things, like still learning design, still trying to like sell pieces, and still trying to like make commission pieces. But yeah, that was
What was your inspiration for that?
yeah, I would say, like, so when I picked up art as a hobby initially, um, it was one thing, but when I started to make, like, when I decided I wanted to like make a business out of it, like, I truly believe that you need a little bit more of a deeper connection to what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just doing it for money, and that I would have never left my job in the first place. So, when I used to spend a lot of times in hospitals, and the walls are like so white and so sterile. And so I want to bring more vibrancy and color to those types of spaces. And so when I painted Viper, I was like, wow, like, I think I could actually do that. So that was the connection that I think I have with it.
I love it. And you had a goal, and you had, yeah, just the inspiration behind it, and it turned out beautiful. That's so fun. So, okay. So, where do you get the majority of your sales? Like, I think that's the number one question everybody asks. They're like, okay, so like, how do I become an artist? Like, where are these people coming out of the blue to uh, commission people?
Yeah. So I have an answer for this one. It is mostly social media, which probably isn't surprising, because I think that's how a lot of artists in our day and age are able to sell their work. It's Instagram has been great. Ironically enough, like, I didn't think Facebook would be able to do the same, but I recently started getting on Facebook, and that's been pretty good too. But mixed with social media, like, I don't think it's just posting pictures. I don't think it's just like putting it out there. Like, yes, that's a first step, and that's a great place to start, but being mindful about it too. Like, you need to have good lighting. You should, like, if you need to, you could download apps or edit pictures to make your whites whiter. Like, I sound
Yeah.
like a Colgate commercial, but it's really true. And so when you look at an Instagram page like yourself, or when you look at people like Kim Rose or Casey Lang, who was on your podcast a few weeks ago, like,
Yeah.
when you look at your guys' profile or your feed, like, it looks like a catalog,
Yeah.
right? And so when I started taking a little bit more, when I started taking more measures with my Instagram, and like putting more care into the pictures that I was posting, that is actually when I started getting hit up a lot more about like art.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, anytime anybody posts something and it has bad lighting or something, I'm like, I'm like, just like whiten your whites just a little bit. And really, truthfully, like, whenever I invite artists to come on the podcast, like you, the first thing I do is go to their Instagram profile, and I'm looking at the thing in the whole, and just seeing like who they are as a person from that like 9 photos that I see first, and like, however, if they're all cohesive, if they all look, just good together and individually. Like, I am one to judge. I'm such a judger on like somebody's Instagram feed, and it has a big thing into where if I invite someone on the podcast or I don't, and because it just kind of like, it almost looks like you have your shit together or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It's not enough to just be an artist. I truly believe that the best artists have a really strong brand behind it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
if someone does look at your page, they should know what they should expect to get. And if you could keep it consistent, or if you could keep a theme, like, I think it's only going to work out in your favor.
For sure. So do you have any tips for keeping it consistent? Because I know as artists, and myself too, like, especially if you do it all these different colors, we're all over the place. Like, do you have any good tips for how to keep it cohesive and consistent?
Yeah, so something that really helped me is using the same filters on every single picture that you post. I don't use a specific like filter. I'll edit like each thing, like the contrast, exposure, whatever. But I'll do it the same for each picture.
Okay, yeah. So like, up the contrast, up the highlights, and then just like making like sure there's like black and white in yours, or is it just kind of like up for color?
Yeah, so something that I've been trying to focus on more is like having a dark post and then having a light post to make some sort of like checkerboard effect eventually.
Yeah.
which I think will be cool. But whatever picture I am putting on there, like I'll still put exposure. These numbers aren't right, but like I'll still put exposure to like 17 and contrast at 26. And that way, like whether it's light or dark, like the whites kind of look this, like they look similar, the blacks look similar, the colors look similar.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And even just like, even when I'm doing mine and myself, like I'll look at and I'll see like one photo can be a bit cooler, like the whites are a bit bluer. And sometimes it just depends on where you're taking it. Like the whites are warmer and that just looks so opposite. And it's just such a weird transition that you can do, like with the saturation on there, just taking it from warm to cool. And that way just so, or neutral, to make sure they're all like kind of the same.
Yeah. There's another artist who does it really well too. Her name is Casey Paintings.
Oh yeah.
And she does, like when you look at her feed, it's just like all bright whites, all like bright teals or bright blues, and the teals and blues always look the same in every picture. So
she's great. Yeah. And she's always like looks super freaking cute in all of them. I'm like, girl, do you look cute every day when you paint?
Yes. Yeah, she's awesome.
I love it. Okay, so is there, or what future art plans and goals do you have? Is there, what's coming up? What's in the works? What are you working on right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on the highlighter series. So that's a lot of portrait work with a lot of neon colors, accenting those pieces, which is fun. And then after that, I'm actually going to be working on a urban decay series. So moving a little bit away from portraits and going into abstracts.
Ooh, that'll be fun. What inspired that? Just seeing a bunch of different ones and thinking you want to try it out. Have you tried it out already, or what's going on?
Yeah, so we started trying it out already. I think not the post I had today, but the one before that, it was like I started getting into it. But it's more like I'm still working it out exactly what it's going to look like. So right now I have canvases all over my studio floor. Like all of them have just like random splatters of paint all over them. So we'll still see like how I fine tune it. But ultimately, like a lot of the artwork that I've been making is portrait work. It has a lot of attitude behind it. There's a lot of like black and whites with hints of color. But I wanted to do something a little bit different that was more muted and could bring a space, a different type of vibrancy without being so loud and without being like so aggressive.
Yeah, for sure. Do you follow Sophie T art? Her abstracts are really loud, really bright, but she's cool. She just has such a personality. I think you'd like her Sophie T art.
To check her out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so last question. Is there any advice you'd give artists who want to make art their full-time career but just don't know where to start?
I would say starting out with like if you want to do it full-time and you're just like nervous or you don't know how to get started, start making small goals that you think that you could achieve. Whether that's like, let me start posting to my Instagram 3 times a week. Let me make an Instagram that's just specific to my art. Let me try to reach out to 5 other artists to get advice. Like coming up with smaller goals of things that you think you need to gain the confidence to be able to do it full time. And just start making moves on that, because each time you do it and you start to realize that like when you set a goal, you can hit it, then you'll gain hopefully confidence enough to be like, all right, like maybe I should just like take the jump and do it on my own.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a building block effect almost. And I love how you mentioned too, like reach out to artists who you could get advice from, because that is just gold. Like just talking to someone, but like we are right now, and just getting advice from you and everybody who has been there, done that. Whether it's use Q-tips or like just whatever, it's just, that is so gold. Which is why I started this podcast, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're a great example of all of this, and you've started in less than a year, and you're doing awesome, and you have so much like insight to give already in your art career, and you're still in the beginning. And so maybe we should do a follow up here in like 2 years to see where you're at, and like another interview.
I would love to do one of these where someone actually interviews you.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Like people probably have so many questions. Like we should definitely set that up.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely open. We actually just did one last week where one of the past podcast guests interviewed me about TikTok specifically, not really like broad thing, but like a very specific thing. And I was like, let me tell you all the things.
Yeah.
I've been waiting. But yeah. All right. Well, it was so nice to meet you. You're so outgoing, and you come across even on the screen like that. I can just tell you're just like, let me sell you in the most genuine way. And so, if I am ever, you're in Austin, Texas, you said?
Yeah.
We're actually down there all the time. My husband went to school at UT.
No
So
way.
we go there and visit all the time. So the next time I'm down there, I'm definitely going to reach out and see if you want to hang out.
Definitely grab a drink or something.
Yes, for sure. Okay, awesome.
That'd be a blast.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, and we'll keep in touch. And the podcast episode will come out 1 week from today, and I'll email you and let you know.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time, Andrea.
No problem. See ya.
Okay. Bye.
This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So, if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am at Art by Andrea Earhart. I will then promote your art on my story and tag you as a little thank you for helping me grow this podcast and our Artist Academy community. I have a reach of over 50,000 on Instagram, so this is a little help me to help you incentive. Also, if you ever want your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy to check out the schedule every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you next week.